This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by AdamandEve.com. If you go to AdamandEve.com and type in the promo code SPORT, you'll get 50% off just about any item. Once again, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and for today's show, we're going to get into some NBA. We're going to talk some NFL Week 10. We'll recap the Monday night game, and we all know how that was a doozy, actually. I know it's a word I actually haven't used really much before, but yeah, if there was ever a time to use that word, that's exactly what it was to describe the Monday night game. It was just brutal to watch. It was a huge blowout. I think Miami is now 1-9 in their last 10 primetime games, but I'll go on my little rant about them later on in the show, and then after that, and towards the end of the show, we pretty much just talk about college basketball is back today. Actually, it's been sort of back. These teams have been playing like the little overseas type of games, but now we got Duke versus Michigan State tonight, which is going to be good. I think it's Marvin Bagley for Duke. He's going to be going head-to-head with, what's his name? Let me get it right here. He's going to be going head-to-head with Miles Bridges. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Marvin Bagley is expected to be maybe a top pick, or at least a top 5 pick in the draft coming up after this NBA season. So that's going to be a fun game to watch right there. Kentucky versus Kansas. Those are always fun games to watch too. Kansas usually always just dominates in their conference, and Kentucky is just... It's Kentucky. It's pretty much, I don't want to call them like Alabama is just constantly dominating college football. I was going to compare Kentucky to them, but Kentucky doesn't win the national championship, or at least the Final Four, as much as Alabama wins in college football. But I mean, it is harder to win in basketball than it is in college football, given just how the tournament is. But yeah, we're going to talk college basketball at the end. We'll talk some college football too, also at towards the end. The U is finally back. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about Alabama's little scare that they had with Mississippi State. We'll talk about Georgia getting blown out. Notre Dame, they played the U. I'm talking about Miami University, by the way, for those that don't know them as the U. But yeah, Miami blew them out, and we'll talk about that and pretty much just anything else that's going on in the world of sports. So it's going to be a fun show. Let's get into it. Let's talk some NBA first. So yesterday, which was, Monday night, the Sacramento Kings went into Washington and lost to the Wizards. Washington won 110-92. George Hill had 16 points. He shot 5 of 9 from 3. Or actually, he shot 5 of 9 for the game, and he shot 3 of 3 from 3, De'Aaron Fox had a bad game. I'm going to call it a bad game. He only scored 10 points. He shot 3 of 10 for the game. Buddy Hield was decent. He had 12 points, shot 5 of 11. Kings really didn't get too much production from the rest of their team. I don't think anyone scored more than 16, and George Hill was the highest scorer for that team. So, yeah, it was pretty much just not a good game from the Kings at all. And as for Washington, John Wall scored 21 points. He shot 8 of 9 for the game, 4 of 4 from the three-point line. He had 9 assists. Gortat had 18.7 rebounds. Otto Porter, a solid game, 15.7 rebounds. And Bradley Beal pretty much did everything as far as the stat sheet goes. He had 14 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. And once again, the Wizards pulled that one out, 110-92. Memphis went into Milwaukee. Milwaukee won that one, 110-103. Dylan Brooks for Memphis, he had 19 points, shot 6 of 9 for the game. Marc Gasol had 16 points, 10 rebounds. And Tyreke Evans, he had 27 points, 6 rebounds, and he shot 11 of 16 for the game. And before I get into the Bucks stats, first I want to talk a little bit about Tyreke Evans. He is an early candidate for 6th Man of the Year. I can't remember exactly how many. I think he's averaging around 16, 18 points a game off the bench, I believe. I'll double check that as I'm talking. But yeah, he's just been playing really good. I really like this 6-man role that Memphis has been having him in. He's not going to be starting, and I don't think he should be at all because just how well he's been playing so far this season. He's just a player where Sacramento, you could tell when he was in Sacramento, you could tell that, he was a pretty good player, but it just didn't work out for him over there. And as for now, I mean, he's doing really well in his role in Memphis. Memphis always finds a way to get the best out of their players, even if they're not star players or anything like that. Because I know Mike Conley, it could be debated whether or not he's a superstar player, and it's probably, I mean, Marc Gasol's been a pretty good center, but I wouldn't call him give him superstar status or even really get close to it. But yeah, as far as all that goes, I mean, Tyreek Evans has still been a player who he's just been lights out so far off the bench, and yeah, I'm really excited about him the rest of the season. So yeah, that's an early candidate for Sixth Man of the Year right there. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. Chris Middleton had 17 points. Eric Bledsoe, in his, I believe it was his second game so far with Milwaukee, he had 15 points and 7 rebounds. And Malcolm Brogdon, I've been kind of interested to see how he'd do off of this coming off the bench role, and he only had 10 points yesterday, so it's going to be probably a little work in progress for him. The Atlanta Hawks went into New Orleans, and the Pelicans came away with that one, 106-105. Kent Bazemore had 22 points and 7 assists. Marco Bellinelli had 14 points. Dennis Schroeder had a really off game. He had 11 points. DeMarcus Cousins had 22 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists. And Anthony Davis had 13 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists also. Etuan Moore also had a really big game for the Pelicans. He had 24 points. Next up, the Lakers went into Phoenix. The Lakers won that one 193. Lonzo Ball scored 7 points, came back down to earth after that triple-double. He shot 3 of 10, had 5 rebounds and 5 assists. Brook Lopez, he had 15 points and 10 rebounds. Jordan Clarkson did well coming off the bench. He had 25 points in that one. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he had 15 points and 9 rebounds, so a nice contribution from him for the Lakers. As for Phoenix, TJ Warren, he's been playing really well so far this season. He had 23 points and 15 rebounds in that game. Devin Booker went off. He had 36 points, shot 14 of 27 for the whole game. And Dragan Bender, probably his best game of the career. I'm not too sure. I really haven't followed him that much, but I know that he hasn't been what Phoenix has wanted him to be, especially with how high they picked him in the draft. I believe it was the same year that Jaylen Brown and Chris Dunn and all them got. It was like 2 years ago, I believe, or last year, I believe. But yeah, he had 15 points and 5 rebounds. Minnesota, they went into Utah. They won that one. Utah's offense has just really struggled so far this season. I mean, you could say it's because of Gordon Hayward not being there, but either way, it's been pretty brutal so far this season. Karl Anthony Towns had, actually, let me read off the score one more time. Minnesota beat Utah 109-98. Karl Anthony Towns had 24 points, 13 rebounds. Let's see, Jeff Teague had 22 points. Jimmy Butler had 21 points, 10 assists. And I saw a stat. I think it's Minnesota is 4-0 when Jimmy Butler has more than 5 assists, I believe. So when Jimmy shares the ball, that makes the rest of Minnesota happy. Andrew Wiggins had 11 points, didn't do too much, but like I said, didn't hurt the team. Jonas Jerebko for Utah had 13 points, 6 rebounds. Donovan Mitchell had 24 points. He shot 10 of 19. Earlier in the season, Mitchell just was he was someone who was struggling trying to find his shot. He'd be taking a lot of shots and wouldn't be making most of them. But now it seems like he's starting to get a lot more comfortable, and the shots are starting to fall. So I'm sure Utah's really excited about that. Rodney Hood had 16 points, and Thabo Sefolosha had 13 points in that one. One of my favorite games of the night was Cleveland. They went into Cleveland versus New York. Cleveland went into New York. They won that one, 104-101. LeBron James had 23 points, 9 rebounds, 12 assists. Kyle Korver had 21 points. 18 of them came in the fourth quarter. Dwayne Wade had a pretty good game, 15 points, 8 rebounds. And Kristaps Porzingis, he had 20 points, 7 rebounds. Tim Hardaway Jr. for the Knicks had 28 points, 10 rebounds. And his Cantor had 20 points and 16 rebounds. And let me talk a little about that game. It was really, the Knicks were leading up by double digits for most of the game, up until the fourth quarter, I think it was. And once the fourth quarter came, Cleveland just pretty much fought their way back and took control of the game. It was a really good game, really fun game to watch. Porzingis hit a couple of clutch shots towards the end, but they just couldn't handle LeBron at the end. I think it was one play where it was 97-97, and it was actually a really fun moment in the game. Kristaps was matched up with LeBron, and LeBron wasn't going to drive in, so you see him back up off of the three-point line a little bit just to give himself some more room, and then you see there he is dribbling the ball. Just like I said, just dribbling it slowly, waiting for the time to drop the shot clock to go down, and boom, as soon as he spots up for the three. He hits it, and that gave Cleveland the lead at 100-97. And then, like I said, after that, they ended up winning the game 104-101. So, yeah, it was just a fun game to watch throughout, and probably the best game of the night. Denver went into Portland. Portland won that one, 99-82. Nikola Jokic only had 6 points and 7 rebounds. Not a good game from him at all. Let's see. Jamal Murray, he had 18 points, shot 7 of 19 from the field, 4 of 4 from 3. Paul Millsap scored 18 points, 5 rebounds. He scored 5 threes in that game. Damian Lillard had a decent game, I guess, for his standards. He had 15 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, so he did a little bit of everything for the team. CJ McCollum had 17 points. He shot 7 of 11 for the game. And then Joseph Nurkic had 17 points, 5 rebounds, and Evan Turner had a pretty good game. He scored 14 points in that one. Orlando went into Oakland, I should say. Lost to Golden State. The Warriors pulled that one out 110-100. And it's just something about the Warriors. They always find a way to stop the opposing team's best player. Aaron Gordon, this one, he only had 10 points. He shot 4 of 13, only had 10 rebounds, so he wasn't much of a factor at all. Nikola Vucevic, he had 20 points, 5 rebounds. Evan Fournier had 16 points. For the Warriors, Draymond Green had 20 points. He shot 8 of 11 for the game. Had 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Typical Draymond Green game right there. Usually doesn't score that many points, but it's always good when he does. Steph Curry didn't play in this one. He sat out, and I can't remember exactly what the injury was. I think it was like the little quad injury. I'm not even sure if these are like real injuries for the Warriors. I think they're just little things where if the player's not feeling well, like in a certain spot, he's a little bit sore, then Steve Kerr's probably going to sit him. And I think Steve Kerr earlier in the year mentioned something about how he's not really going to force his guys to go through a hard regular season because we all know where they're going to end up once the playoffs start. So, yeah, no reason for the Warriors to really go too hard. But, yeah, Kevin Durant in that game, he had 21 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Klay Thompson had 15 points in that one. So, once again, the Warriors beat the Magic 110-100. Philadelphia 76ers, they went into LA, faced off with the Clippers. The Sixers won that one 109-105. Robert Covington, he's been having a really good year so far this season. He had 31 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 9 of 12 for the entire game. Joel Embiid pretty much did whatever he wanted against DeAndre Jordan, and we'll talk about DeAndre Jordan in a little bit. It was really a sad game from him, but Embiid had 32 points, 16 rebounds, and you could see Embiid throughout the game just talking trash to Jordan, pretty much anyone he wanted to on the Clippers, so not a good look for them. Ben Simmons had 22 points. He shot 9 of 14, had 12 rebounds. And when I say he shot 9 of 14, most of the shots are just inside the paint. Ben Simmons is out here averaging around 20 points a game, and he can't shoot the ball to save his life as far as mid-range or from the three. So it's really fun to see him play because once he does develop that jump shot, he's going to be even better, and he could be up for MVP consideration later on in his career because of how well he's been playing. But yeah, as for the Clippers, let's get into their stats. Blake Griffin had 29 points, 6 rebounds. He shot 10 of 25. Lou Williams had a really good game. He scored 31 points, had 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and DeAndre Jordan, he had 2 points and 5 rebounds. He only took 2 shots in the entire game. A really bad game from him, and the Clippers are starting to fall off. I think the Clippers are currently 5-8. I know in the beginning of the season, I was getting all high and mighty on them. Oh yeah, Clippers 5-1. They're going to be a really good team. They're going to be the 5th or the 6th seed, and then they came back down to earth, I guess. They just really haven't been able to pick it up at all. It's just been losing for them. And I'm sure Clipper fans are not really liking it, obviously. I mean, they went through so many years of losing before, and then Chris Paul left in the offseason, and then now they started off, I think it was 5-1, like I said, and then boom, they're just back to the losing. So hopefully it's just like a little funk that they're going through, and they'll be able to pick it up. But we'll see how it all plays out. But yeah, it was just really odd to see that kind of game from DeAndre Jordan. Usually he's able to get a lot of rebounds no matter the center he's playing, and Joel Embiid basically just what should I say? Joel Embiid I'll be nice. He just owned DeAndre Jordan in this game. DeAndre Jordan really couldn't do much, and it's just embarrassing from DeAndre Jordan to let a guy like that do that to you. I'm not trying to take anything from Joel Embiid, but DeAndre Jordan's been in the league for not even quite some time. He's been in the league long enough you can't be letting guys do that to you as far as Joel Embiid made DeAndre Jordan look small and weak in that entire game. And like I said, he was just talking trash to him the entire time. So Yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. But Philly's looking like a good team right now. I believe their record actually, they're 7-6 right now. And then Clippers are currently 5-8. Let me see the standings for the rest of the NBA. We'll go over the Eastern and Western Conference just to finish out this segment. Let's start with the West. Right now, Houston is 11-3, but Golden State is also 11-3. Houston's 1, Golden State is 2. Then at number 3, San Antonio's been able to pick up their play a little bit. They're 8-5. Then you got Minnesota at 4, who's also 8-5. Then the Pelicans at number 5, who are 8-6. Really excited about that. They finally got Rondo back, so they're probably going to ease him into it. At number 6, you got Denver, who's also 8-6. And then at number 7, Memphis, who's 7-6. And then at number 8, you got Portland, who's 7-6. And then on the outside looking in, we got Oklahoma City, who's 6-7, then Utah, who's 6-8, and the Lakers, who are currently 6-8. So that's how the West is looking right now. I'm not really going to talk about the Clippers, Phoenix, or Sacramento, or Dallas because they just need to pick it up, and it's not looking like any of those teams are really going to make too much noise. Clippers, maybe I'm going to hold out hope on them, but we'll see how that all goes. As for the East, you got Boston, who's at number 1 at 12-2, currently on a 12-game win streak. Detroit is 10-3 at number 2. Washington is 8-5. Then you got Toronto at number 4, who's 7-5. Orlando at number 5, who is 8-6. New York at number 6, who is 7-6. Philadelphia at 7, they're also 7-6. And Milwaukee is at number 8, who is also 7-6. And Cleveland is starting to creep up. Finally, they're 7-7. Miami 6-7, and then Indiana 6-8. So that's how the East is looking. And I'm sure Cleveland's going to start making their way back towards the top where they belong, but they're finally starting to pick up their play. I know they love posting on the Instagram. They were posting all those Arthur memes yesterday after their win against the Knicks. And I was just thinking to myself, like the Knicks are 7-6 right now, but it's the Knicks. They're not really that great of a team right now. So the Cavaliers need to pick it up. But like I said, they'll probably find themselves back near the top soon enough. But that's going to wrap it up for this first segment. Next up, we're going to go over the NFL scores from Week 10, and then after that, we'll recap that brutal Monday night game from Miami and Carolina, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Hey, are you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Have you been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Well, here's an offer you're not going to be able to resist. If you go to adamandeve.com, and for a limited time only, you'll get 50% off just about any item. But that's not all they're offering. Oh no. When you select your one item at 50% off, you'll also receive 3 free adult DVDs, just in case you need that little inspiration. Plus a free extra gift so sensual, I can't even mention it on this podcast. And to top that all off, they're willing to throw in free shipping on your entire order, and we all know how we love that free shipping. And no, they're not kidding about any of this. So check out adamandeve.com today for this special offer. You'll get 50% off one item when you type in sport for the offer code upon checkout. When you do that, you'll get 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and that free shipping. Just use the offer code SPORT, that's SPORT, at adamandeve.com. Again, that's SPORT, sport, at adamandeve.com. All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. In that last segment, if you missed it or just need a quick reminder, we went over the NBA games from Monday night. Like I said earlier, the New York Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers game was one of my favorite ones. But now we're going to talk some NFL. It's always a joy to talk about Week 10. Let's just go over the scores now. So Thursday night, Seattle went into Arizona, and they won that one 22-16. Russell Wilson went through 32 passes, completed 22 of them. He had 238 yards for 2 touchdowns. Thomas Rawls had 10 carries for 27 yards. Doug Baldwin had a solid game, 5 receptions for 95 yards. And Jimmy Graham, he's looking like he's finally back, looking like he's starting to pick up that form that he had with the Saints. He had 6 receptions for 27 yards and 2 touchdowns. Drew Stanton had a so-so game. He had 273 yards and a touchdown. Adrian Peterson was just stopped the entire game. He couldn't do anything. He had 21 carries for 27 yards. Larry Fitzgerald had this guy is just the model of consistency right here. If you look up consistency in the what do you call it, dictionary, Larry Fitzgerald is the definition of it. He had 10 receptions for 113 yards, and Jermaine Gresham finally came out of the woods. He had 5 receptions for 64 yards. Haven't said that name for quite a while. New Orleans, they went into Buffalo. Buffalo stood no chance in that game. New Orleans won that one 47-10. Drew Brees had 184 yards, no passing touchdowns, but good old Drew had 1 rushing touchdown. And I mean, he's getting back. He's getting in line with the rest of the offense. I mean, that's what it looks like. It's looking like they're a rushing team. Mark Ingram had 21 carries for 131 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had 12 carries for 106 yards, 1 touchdown. He also had 5 receptions for 32 yards. Trey Edmonds, I believe he came in garbage time. He had 9 carries, 48 yards, and a touchdown, so did well with the opportunity he was given. Michael Thomas, as a fantasy owner of him, I really would like if he'd start scoring touchdowns, but I'll take 9 receptions and 117 yards in that game from him. Tyrod Taylor probably had his... Yeah, he did. I'm going to say it right now. Tyrod Taylor had his worst game this season. He went 9 of 18, 56 yards. Nathan Peterman, not sure which one it is. I'm going to go Peterman. Yeah, let's go Nathan Peterman. Nathan Peterman went 7 of 10 coming after he came in for Tyrod. He had 79 yards and a touchdown. LaShawn McCoy had another bad game. He had 8 carries for 49 yards, and Kelvin Benjamin in his first game with Buffalo had 3 receptions for 42 yards. Green Bay went into Chicago, and Green Bay won that one. I guess even with Aaron Rodgers isn't there at quarterback, some things just never change. Green Bay is just going to continue beating up on Chicago. Like I said, that one was 23-16. Brett Hundley had a decent game. He went 18 of 25 throwing the ball, had 212 yards and a touchdown. Jamal Williams came into the game because Aaron Jones left the game with an injury. Williams had 20 carries for 67 yards. Ty Montgomery had 6 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. I believe that touchdown came off of a 37-yard run. Devontae Adams, thank you for saving my fantasy team. He had 5 receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. Randall Cobb was the second best receiver for Green Bay that day. He had 3 receptions for 52 yards. Mitchell Trubisky, I'm really excited about this, even though he lost. They finally let him throw the ball a lot. He went 21 of 35 passing the ball, had 297 yards and a touchdown. I'm really trying my hardest because I have Marcus Mariota also on my fantasy team, and he's playing against Pittsburgh on Sunday. Actually, you know what? I'll save this for the fantasy football podcast on Thursday, so yeah, I'll save all that. But Jordan Howard had 15 carries for 54 yards, and Dontrell Iman had 6 receptions for 88 yards. And once again, Green Bay won that one 23-16. Cleveland Browns went into Detroit. Detroit won that one 38-24, and Cleveland gave their fans a little glimmer of hope. They were up, what was the score? I can't remember exactly. They were up like 14-0, I believe, or something like that, but Cleveland was looking like, you know what, Cleveland might have a chance. Is this going to be the first win of the season? And the Cleveland Browns realized they were the Cleveland Browns and went back to losing. Deshaun Kaiser had 232 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 rush touchdown. Also, with I think it was 13 seconds left in the first half, Cleveland had no timeouts, and they're near the goal line around the 3-yard line. And they ran a QB sneak, and they got stuffed for that. And that was the last play they could have ran at the end of the first half because they had no timeouts. So it's just the ultimate Cleveland Browns play right there. If you ever needed something to sum up the last, how long have they been around? Since 96, 97, somewhere around there. So it's been about 20 years. If you ever needed a play to sum up those 20 years, just go ahead and watch that one, the QB sneak with 13 seconds left and no timeouts. Isaiah Crowell had a solid game running the ball. He had 16 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown. Seth DeValve had 4 receptions and 70 yards for Cleveland. Matt Stafford had 249 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Amir Abdullah ran the ball 11 times. He had 52 yards and a touchdown. And then Golden Tate, the PPR monster, had 6 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. The Pittsburgh Steelers went into Indianapolis. They won that one 20-17. Not really a solid game from the Steelers all around, but you know what? They got the W, and that's all that matters. Ben Roethlisberger threw the ball 31 times, completed it 19. He had 236 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Le'Veon Bell had a so-so game. I mean, 80 yards for any other running back might be decent, but we all know what Le'Veon Bell can do. He had 26 carries for 80 yards, Juju Smith-Schuster I hope everyone listened to me about, I'm not sure if I said on this podcast or the football one, but I did say that you should start him if you have him in your fantasy team. He had 5 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown, so I just expect him to keep playing well throughout the season, rest of the season. Before that, when he wasn't getting too many targets or just too much the ball going towards him, he still made do with what he was getting and was able to produce. So it's good to see him getting the ball a lot more, and just like I said, he's just now you're starting to see him explode a little bit. Antonio Brown had an off game, 3 receptions for 47 yards. Jacoby Brissett went 14 of 24, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. That's one of my more favorite quarterbacks in the league. I just like what he's been doing for Indianapolis, and I just hope that next season they trade him to some team to where he could start, because I'm sure Andrew Luck is going to come back and eventually take over that starting job again. Frank Gore had 17 carries for 54 yards. That's the ageless wonder right there. And Chester Rogers. Chester is the ultimate football name, I feel. He had 6 receptions, 104 yards, and a touchdown. The Chargers went into Jacksonville, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I don't even have to tell you who won. I'm just going to say this game was within 3 points, so you should already know off the top of your head who won that game, because the Chargers do not win close games. And it was true once again. Jacksonville won that one 20-17. Phillip Rivers had 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Melvin Gordon was shut down the entire game. He had 16 carries for 27 yards. Austin Eckler, he came in. He had 10 carries for 42 yards, 5 receptions, 77 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Blake Bortles, when Blake Bortles throws the ball a lot, bad things happen, but they managed to pull it out. He threw the ball 51 times, completed the ball 28 times. He threw for 273 yards in the air, had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Leonard Fournette didn't have a good game either. He had 17 carries for 33 yards. Corey Grant had 1 run for 56 yards, and that resulted in a touchdown. And Allen Hurns had one of his better games of the season. He had 7 receptions for 70 yards. The Jets went into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay won that one 15-10, and I got really excited over this game. I thought that the Jets were gonna win. I thought they were gonna run the ball over Tampa Bay's defense. And I keep forgetting, when a bad team plays another bad team, that means you get a bad game. It's simple math right there. I should have paid attention in school. So Josh McCown had 262 yards and a touchdown. He also had 1 interception. Bilal Powell started him on my fantasy team. Actually, good thing it didn't matter, though, because he had 10 carries for 30 yards, still managed to pull out the win. Robbie Anderson now has a touchdown in 4 straight games. He had 4 receptions for 85 yards, and like I said, a touchdown. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the revenge game for him. He had 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Doug Martin had 20 carries for 51 yards, and Deshaun Jackson had 6 receptions for 82 yards. Cincinnati went into Tennessee. Tennessee won that one 24-20. Andy Dalton had 265 yards passing the ball, 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon ran the ball 9 times for 37 yards and a touchdown. AJ Green had 5 receptions, 115 yards and a touchdown. Marcus Mariota for Tennessee threw the ball in the air, had 264 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had figure out these words that I'm saying right now, but DeMarco Murray had one of his better games of the season, not yards-wise, but as far as touchdowns go. He had 14 carries, 42 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 4 receptions and 30 yards, so that was pretty good. Delaney Walker was the leading receiver for Tennessee. He had 6 receptions for 63 yards. Minnesota went into Washington. I've been downing them a lot. They won that one 38-30, Minnesota. Case Keenum had 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Latavius Murray had 17 carries for 68 yards and a touchdown. Adam Thielen, 8 receptions, 166 yards and a touchdown. Kirk Cousins had 327 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Perine had 9 carries and 35 yards for Washington. And Vernon Davis was the leading receiver for Washington also. He had 7 receptions for 76 yards. Houston went into LA, faced off with the Rams. The Rams made easy work of Houston. They won 33-7. Tom Savage went 18 of 36 throwing the ball, 221 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Lamar Miller had 11 carries for 60 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, another solid game from him, 7 receptions, 111 yards. Jared Goff for LA, he's been lights out so far this season. He had 355 yards for 3 touchdowns. Todd Gurley had 11 carries, 68 yards, also had 6 receptions for 68 yards, so a really nice yardage game for him. And Robert Woods, the king of the LA Coliseum, he had 8 receptions for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dallas went into Atlanta, made me look dumb. Atlanta won that one 27-7. That's the last time I'm ever talking up Dallas. Probably not. I'll probably say some good things about them on the football podcast. But Dak Prescott had 176 yards, 42 rush yards, and a touchdown. Alfred Morris had 11 carries for 53 yards. Jason Witten, also another ageless wonder. He had 7 receptions for 59 yards. Matt Ryan had 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Devontae Freeman came out of that game early with a concussion, and Tevin Coleman did well to step in. He had 20 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown, and Julio Jones, a quiet game from him. He had 6 receptions for 57 yards, and what do you know? San Francisco 49ers, congrats on your first win. They beat the Giants 31-21. Eli Manning had 273 yards, 2 touchdowns. Orleans Darkwa, 14 carries, 70 yards. Sterling Shepard had a really good game. He had 11 receptions for 142 yards. CJ Beathard had 288 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Carlos Hyde, 17 carries for 98 yards. And Garrett Selleck was San Francisco's leading receiver with 4 receptions, 67 yards, and a touchdown. Sunday night, or actually both the Sunday night and Monday night games were both blowouts. We'll talk more about the Monday night one in the next segment. But New England went into Denver. They won that one 41-16. Was there any doubt? Probably not. Tom Brady had 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. Deion Lewis had 14 carries for 55 yards, had 1 rushing touchdown and 1 kickoff return touchdown. Rob Gronkowski had 4 receptions for 74 yards. Brock Osweiler, 221 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. C.J. Anderson had 10 carries for 54 yards. Emmanuel Sanders had a really good game, 6 receptions for 137 yards. And Demaryius Thomas has just continued to show up for Denver and do his job. He had 5 receptions for 44 yards and a touchdown. And as for that Monday night game, we're not going to get too much into it. I'll just give the score and the winner. But Miami went into Carolina. They lost. Carolina won that one big time, 45-21. And that's all I'm going to say about that game right now, because we're going to talk a lot more about it in the third segment. So that's how Week 10 played out. If your team won, congrats. If your team lost, sorry about that. Maybe they'll win next week. If you're a 49ers, Cleveland Browns, or a New York Giants fan, chances aren't good to win again next week. But shout out to San Francisco. Got their first win of the season. Cleveland, are you going to get yours? Or are you going to be like the Detroit Lions from 2008, I believe it was, who went 0-16? I guess you'll have to stay tuned for the rest of the NFL season to find that one out, boys and girls. But yeah, it's going to wrap it up for that second segment. Next up, we're going to talk Monday Night Football, so stay tuned.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. In that last segment, we talked about Week 10, recapped each game, gave the score, gave some stats, said some good things about your team, probably said some bad things about your other teams. I guess you're just going to have to go back and re-listen to it if you didn't catch it. But yeah, for this segment, we're going to talk Monday Night Football, and oh my goodness, what a blowout this one was. Miami, let's go Miami's last 3 primetime games. Thursday night against Baltimore, lost that one 40-0. Then Sunday night against Oakland, lost that one 27-24. Heartbreaker right there. And then here we are Monday night, lose this one 45-21. Miami, this is now a throwaway season for them. They are done. Do not like them at all going forward. Doesn't matter if they beat Tampa Bay and go 5-5 next week. They're just it's just brutal to watch Miami play football right now. Let's get into Carolina. Let's say some good things first. Let's talk about a good team. All right, so actually, let's do the stats for this game. I'll do a scoring summary, and then I'll say nice things about Carolina, and then I'll go on my little rant about Miami. But yeah, so for this one, let's go stats. Jay Cutler had 213 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Kenyon Drake had a solid game, 7 carries for 82 yards, scored a touchdown. I think it was in the third quarter. Can't remember exactly, but yeah, he had a long touchdown run. Kenny Stills had 5 receptions for 67 yards. Jarvis Landry, he's always going to show up. You can always count on him. He had 5 receptions for 42 yards and a touchdown. Cam Newton had a really great game. He had 255 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, took off with the ball 5 times, and had 95 yards to come from that. And then Jonathan Stewart, 17 carries for 110 yards. Miami couldn't stop him at all. Devin Funchess had 5 receptions, 92 yards for 2 touchdowns. And let's see, Christian McCaffrey, also efficient. He had 3 receptions, 27 yards, and 2 touchdowns that came near the goal line. Let's get into that scoring summary. First quarter, Graham Gano kicked a 40-yard field goal, which made it 3-0. Then the second quarter comes. Christian McCaffrey has a 4-yard touchdown. Made it 10-0. Julius Thomas, 2-yard touchdown pass from it's like a shovel, I guess. It made it 10-7. And then Ed Dixon right at the end of the first half, actually right before that, Miami had the ball with about 40 seconds left, and boom, Jay Cutler just throws a nice interception at Luke Kuechly. And then to capitalize on that, Ed Dixon caught a 7-yard touchdown pass from Cam Newton, which made it 17-7. End of the first half right there. Third quarter comes. Devin Funchess, 28-yard touchdown pass from Cam Newton, obviously. That made it 24-7. And then they just continued to pile it on. Cameron Artis-Payne, 12-yard touchdown run, 31-7. Then after that, that's when Kenyon Drake had a 66-yard touchdown run, which made it 31-14. Christian McCaffrey, a 2-yard touchdown catch from Cam Newton, 38-14. Devin Funchess in the fourth quarter, 32-yard pass from Cam Newton, which resulted in a touchdown. That made it 45-14. And then everyone loves garbage time. Jarvis Landry caught a 9-yard pass from Jake Cutler, turned that into a touchdown, and that made it 45-21. So now that we got over the scoring summary and talk stats, let's talk about each team. This is going to be really fun, actually. But Carolina, now 7-3, half game back of the Saints right now. And Carolina, Cam Newton is finally figuring it out. I was looking really down on them for trading Kelvin Benjamin because their offense really wasn't producing at all before that. But you know what? I can't remember exactly who the GM is. Ron Rivera, those guys know what they're doing. I don't. This is why I'm talking about them, and they're out there playing football and making football moves and transactions and all that good stuff. So I got nothing but praise for them. Like I said, they're currently 7-3. Cam Newton, he's starting to take off with the ball a lot more, and that's just made their offense even more. That's what's helped their offense, I believe. Because then before, you were in the last couple of seasons, Cam Newton has been, other than that Super Bowl season, Cam Newton really hasn't been that quarterback that we all know he can be. But when he's not an accurate passer at all. Throwing the ball, he's not at his best. He's at his best when he's able to take off and use his feet. And so that way, as the game goes on, and oh yeah, Cam Newton, is he gonna take off right here? Is he gonna take off for the next play? You're not really sure. So as a defense, you're on your toes waiting for him. And when he has you on your toes and just pretty much you're back against the wall, that's when he plays best, and that's when he can do whatever he wants. Like I said, he's not really that good throwing the ball. I believe now after that game, he's got 14 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. But before that game, Monday night game, he had 10 touchdowns for 11 interceptions. So obviously he's not as accurate like I've been saying. But yeah, when he's taking off with the ball, he's a really good quarterback. Devin Funchess has really stepped up since Kelvin Benjamin came out, and you're seeing Christian McCaffrey get more and more snaps, and just pretty much he's a big part of the offense now that Benjamin is out. And I'm happy for John Stewart, pretty much the old guy veteran. I'm not even sure how old he is. He's probably not even that old. Shouldn't be, but yeah, he had 17 carries for 110 yards. It's just a really good game from him. So yeah, like I said, Carolina's currently 7-3. I think they have that 5th spot on the wild card right now, and they should only be a half game back of New Orleans in the NFC South. NFC South? Let me see. I'm pretty sure, yeah, the NFC South, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. New Orleans is playing really well so far this season, but like I said, Carolina's not going away. But yeah, so Carolina's currently, let's see who they got up next. Carolina they got the Jets next, so they got a good chance of going 8-3, and then that's when they'll see the Saints after that. Actually, they got 2 tough games after the Jets. They got the Saints and the Vikings. So we're going to see. I think that this Carolina team is for real, but we're going to see if they could play with the big teams right now in the NFC, the big boys. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's all the good things I got to say about Carolina right now. So let me talk about the Miami Dolphins. This team, in prime time, they hide under the covers. They're scared, okay? They come out and they get intimidated. They get beat down constantly in primetime. I'm not sure what it is. Like I said earlier, I think it was they're 1-9 in their last 10 primetime games. Okay, this whole Jay Cutler experiment's not working out with Miami. I'm sure this is going to be his last year. He's going to collect his $10 million and go back to the beach and just pretty much stay retired. Maybe we'll see him back in the Fox. We'll see him actually in this Fox booth commentating the games. But yeah, this is it for Jay Cutler this season. In Miami season, I'm ready to write it off. This is pretty much a throwaway season for them. The season ended, I guess you could say. I mean, there was hope from the fans with Jay Cutler coming in because he was Adam Gase's guy, and he did have his best season with Adam Gase. But it's not happening this season. It's done. The season is over for Miami. Don't overthink it. Don't be hopeful about it. I mean, they could win against Tampa Bay next week, which would make them 5-5. Still done. Like I said, don't overthink it. Miami is done. Just see what you got going for next year. Hope Ryan Tannehill's ACL gets fixed and it's ready for and it's all recovered for next season, because the only time this team has a chance to ever do anything is when that guy is at quarterback. I know Miami Dolphins fans, they've had a problem with Ryan Tannehill over the last few years because he's not a top 5 quarterback and he doesn't play like one. Obviously not, but you know what? He gives that team the best chance to win when he's out there. And look, he comes out. This is one player too. It's not like Miami is missing all kinds of players. Let's see. Yeah, they traded away Jay Jai, so you can't complain about that. The coach made that move. He wanted that move. And Jarvis Landry's been healthy. Kenny Stills has been healthy. Devontae Parker, we all know he's off and on with injuries, so can't really complain about that. He's just been that way his whole career. Kenyon Drake has played well, so has Damian Williams since they took over from Ajayi. As far as the defense goes, I mean, the defense other than last night, which was Monday night, they've been playing really well. I think they were top 10 in total defense. The rookie Xavier Howard's been playing well. I'm basing this off of one game. I'm talking about as for the whole season. Xavier Howard and Cordrea Tankers, they've been playing well. The linebackers have been playing well. Rashad Jones is always doing his thing. They got TJ McDonald back. Last night, the defensive line was brutal. Got no pressure, but other than that, they've been playing pretty well. So, I mean, as a whole for the season. So, I mean, it really just comes down to the offense for that team. Jay Cutler, the offense has literally been dummied down to where I know what play they're calling next. When just pretty much it's just brutal to watch. I mean, this team, they have talent, but it's like Ryan Tannehill going out was probably the worst thing that could have happened to them. Because, I mean, Matt Moore came in for a couple of games, and that Thursday night game comes in. He looks like a JV quarterback playing against an NFL team. And then they have to bring Jay Cutler in. He plays well against Oakland. He has probably the best game of the season. And then Monday night comes, and Jay Cutler was missing all kinds of easy throws in that game against the Panthers. He would just overthrow people that were wide open, underthrow them, throw the ball to the ground. Jay Cutler is just a stressful quarterback to watch. But yeah, as far as the rest of the season goes, Miami Dolphin fans, don't put your head I don't want to be too negative. I mean, like I said, they're still somehow 4-5 with how bad they've been playing, but the offense just was brutal to watch. Adam Gase, I feel like he's starting to get into his own way, and I know fans really aren't too happy with him. He's more public enemy number one as far with the fan base, and I know they're calling for his job, but he shouldn't lose it, and he's not going to, rightfully so. He needs to stay another year and see what he can do when Tannehill comes back, because like I said, last year when they had Tannehill went down late in the season with that ACL injury, but he put him in position to where they could make the playoffs, and they ended up pulling it out. But that team needs Tannehill. He's been a controversy as far as fans go, whether they like him or not. It's either if you love him or hate him as a Dolphins fan, and right now they should be just hoping, praying, whatever it is that fans believe in, just hope that he comes back and that ACL is good, because that team is brutal without him. They are a bad team right now. The offense is really what's bad. Like I said, the defense, other than that Monday night, it's been top 10 in total defense. I mean, I'm not just saying that as my opinion. That's what the stats say. But yeah, that offense is just it's a throwaway season. The season is done for that team. Let me see who they got next. They got Tampa Bay next, and then they got New England, I believe. And then, let me double check. They got Tampa Bay, then New England. Oh, sorry, just got that live build up. Then they got Denver, the Patriots, the Bills, the Chiefs, and then the Bills again. They got 4 wins right now. Maybe they'll be able to beat the Bucs, then the Broncos. I mean, the Patriots, I don't see them pulling either of those games out. Buffalo's going to be a tough team. They're not going to beat the Chiefs. So yeah, they got 2 games where they can actually have a decent chance of winning, and then those Buffalo games, we'll see how those go. But yeah, they're going to be lucky if they get to 7 wins, possibly 6. Who knows? We might not even see them pull out another game for the rest of the season. That offense has just been so terrible to watch. It's brutal. It's just screen, run play, short pass, or on 3rd and 10, Adam Gase really loves to call the halfback draw. So, yeah, like I said, Miami's done. I'm not even going to act like they have a chance at making the wild card, okay, because this offense has been brutal. They're more with the Jets right now. The Jets are currently 4-5-2, I believe, and the Jets overachieved, and right now this Miami team with Jay Cutler, they overachieved too. It's just been ridiculous to see the drop-off from Ryan Tannehill to Jay Cutler as far as this offense goes. The offense has been dumbing down just for Jay Cutler, and Adam Gase is too stubborn to realize that, you know what, it's not working. Maybe I should just throw Matt Moore in there for the rest of the season. What do you have to lose? But Adam Gase, there's only one voice he listens to, and it's his own. So, Miami fans, you're just going to have to deal with this for the rest of the season. Nothing's changing. Don't expect playoffs because it's not happening. So, that's all I got to say about that. That was a fun little rant right there. Again, good on Carolina for pretty much playing the way they should against a bad team. Once again, they won 45-21, and they're going to be competing for that division with New Orleans. So that's all I got to say about that. As for the next segment, we're going to talk a little college basketball, give them what knowledge I have on that, talk some college football, and then pretty much anything else that's going on in sports. So it's going to be a fun last segment, so stay tuned. This is the GSMC Sports Podcast.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA, from the UFC to extreme cage fighting. They got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. If you missed that last segment or need a quick reminder, as I like to say, we talked about the Monday Night Football game between the Dolphins and Panthers. If you missed that one, that game, consider yourself a lucky guy or girl. Miami got blown out 45-21. They're just brutal on primetime games. Carolina did what they should have. Carolina is now 7-3. Miami's 4-5. Pretty much their season's done. Carolina is really going to be competing for that division with the Saints, so it's going to be interesting to see how their season plays out. But for this next segment, I'm going to mention the college basketball games that are back. College basketball is finally back. I enjoy watching college basketball a little bit more than college football, just because I feel like basketball as a sport is more I don't want to say that. I don't know. It's just something about the atmosphere from the fans in college basketball that I really like to watch. But, yeah, we got some good games tonight. We got Duke going against Michigan State. Marvin Bagley is going to be a player to watch in that one. He's going to be should be a top 5 pick in the draft this coming year once the NBA season is done, unless he shocks us all and decides to stay. But, yeah, he's going to be a guy to watch. That game's going to be on at 4 Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And then I'm actually looking really forward to this game. It's going to be number 7 Kentucky playing against number 4 Kansas. Kansas has always been a personal favorite of mine for college basketball. Like, I'm not like a guy, oh yeah, Kansas, I love them so much. But Paul Pierce was my favorite NBA player, and since he came from Kansas, that's just the team I root for. But yeah, those games are going to be fun to watch. College basketball, I mean, I love how they do this too. It's not like college. Sometimes now college football, you're seeing them do it more and more, where they have some of the top teams play against each other. But college basketball, they always have teams like the best teams from the ACC go against the best teams from the Big Ten, or the best teams from the SEC go against the best teams from the Big 12. And they have that little week. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but yeah, we'll have them play each other. And it's just always fun to see the top teams go against each other, see where everyone is at the beginning of the season. And then once the tournament comes, pretty much have an idea of what to expect. But yeah, I'm really excited for college basketball to start. it's going to be a couple of fun games to watch. I think Villanova also plays tonight, and they're currently ranked 5th. Yeah, they play at 3 o'clock or 3:30 Pacific time against Nichols. Villanova is currently ranked 5th, and if you like betting on the spread, Villanova is favored by 32.5. So if you want to be a brave guy and bet on Nichols and take the points too, go right ahead. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But like I said, very excited for the college basketball season to start. As for college football, Washington killed any chances of the Pac-12 having a team in the playoff. They lost to Stanford on Friday, 30-22. LSU beat Arkansas 33-10, and that's all. Actually, Ohio State, they bounced back from that big loss against Iowa. They just destroyed Michigan State 48-3. But let's get into the Miami University. I like calling them the U. From now on, you're usually going to hear me call them the U. But really excited. The U is back. I know we like to do that thing. Oh, is Texas back? Texas is never back. Let's stop doing that. Now let's start saying the U is back, because they are. That defense is legit. Okay, Notre Dame, so far this season, they were dropping around 40 points a game on whoever. It doesn't matter who it was. Oh, yeah, and coming into this game, number 3 Notre Dame versus number 7 Miami. We're going to be all excited. It's going to be a really good game. Miami had other plans. Miami was the only team who showed up. Notre Dame would have been better off just waiting in the bus for 3 hours, because it looked like Miami just intimidated them. Notre Dame's not a team who turns the ball over really at all so far this season, and I think against Miami they had 4 turnovers, so that turnover chain was in full effect. You could see it on TV on that ESPN, and it was just a fun game to watch. Miami is a much funner team when they're playing like this, when they have that swagger with them, okay? They're playing like the teams from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. Again, I was born in 96, so you can say, oh yeah, you're too young for that, but thankfully we got those 30 for 30s about the U, so I got to watch those, pick up my knowledge on them. And this team is just fun. Like they know they're good. That's the best part about it. They know they're good. Okay, the defense is out there. The defensive line is good. The linebackers are good. The secondary is just lights out. Okay, they're gonna bully you, and they're gonna say something to you after. There was one where the quarterback for Notre Dame, I think it was in the first quarter or towards the end of the first quarter, second quarter, I can't remember exactly, but he's walking off the field, and you see one of the Miami secondary players. You can see him. He's walking away, but he's saying something to the quarterback, and the Notre Dame quarterback is just like, "Come on, man." He's just hurt. Like, Miami had Notre Dame shook the entire game. Just pretty much, Notre Dame was intimidated. It looked like they couldn't do anything. Miami just didn't take their foot off the pedal at all. Just boom, kept going. Let's see. Yeah, it was 14-0 after the first quarter. Miami was up. Then after the second, it was 27-0. Third quarter comes. Miami makes it 34-0. Notre Dame gets that garbage time touchdown, 34-8, and Miami didn't stop. They scored another touchdown in the fourth quarter, which made it 41-8. Notre Dame is going to fall out of the top 4 for sure. Miami they need to be in the top 4 after this. They need to be at least second or third. I'm pretty fired up about them right now. That was just incredible to watch from them. Just an all-around beatdown. I really enjoyed that one. Oklahoma, they beat TCU 38-20. Yeah, 38-20. TCU is now 8-2. They're done. They have no chance of making the playoff. Oklahoma is now 9-1. Baker Mayfield's got that Heisman all but locked up. I'd be really surprised if he didn't win it. He had 333 yards, 3 touchdowns. And yeah, just an overall great game. He also had 50 yards on the ground. He took off with it 11 times. So yeah, just a great game from them. Oklahoma is also a team I expect to see in the top 4. And you're probably wondering, oh, why? But Georgia, they got... What happened here, Georgia? You guys are supposed to be the number 1 team in the nation, and I'm not trying to take anything from Auburn, but when you're the number 1 team in the nation, you need to play like that. And Georgia simply didn't do that. They got just destroyed by Auburn, 40-17. Auburn really just didn't take the foot off the gas like Miami in that game. Let's see. After the first quarter, it was 7-6 Auburn. Second quarter comes, Auburn's up 16-7 after the first half ends. Third quarter comes, Auburn pulls out to a 30-7 lead, and then Georgia gets a nice little field goal and makes it 30-10. Fourth quarter comes, Auburn makes it 40-10, and then Georgia got a nice little garbage time touchdown to make themselves feel good, which made it 40-17. So Auburn just now that. Probably not going to see Georgia in the top 4, and you'll probably see them around the 5 or 6 range. And as for Auburn, just made me even more excited for the Iron Bowl at the end of their little SEC regular season game that they always have. It's going to be a fun one to watch. And Mississippi State, I said I said watch out for Mississippi State against Alabama because somehow Alabama always has trouble against them. And what happened? Alabama had trouble against them, but they pulled it out. Alabama won 31-24. Mississippi State, they hung in there, okay? They played well. Alabama got a touchdown late in the game in the fourth quarter, I believe. Let me see right here. I got it up here. Alabama, Devontae Smith caught a 26-yard pass from Jalen Hurts, which made it 31-24, and that was with 25 seconds left. So Mississippi State really had no chance to come back and tie it up. So good game for Mississippi State. They always give Alabama a tough game. Alabama's now 10-0, probably going to be the best team or the number one team in the playoff. Unless, the committee's feeling pretty generous and they want to make Miami number one. I mean, Miami's undefeated. They just beat the brakes off of Notre Dame. That was just a fun game to watch. I would enjoyed that one big time. Sorry, Notre Dame fans. I'm really bagging on our team right now, but Miami just dominated. So, yeah, that's how college football went this weekend. Let's see. Let me give my top four. I'm gonna put Miami at number one. That's just performance. If they would have had like a close game against Notre Dame and pulled it out, then yeah, I'm putting Alabama at number one. But like I said, Notre Dame was playing well all season, and Miami made Notre Dame look like a Division I AA team. So yeah, I'm putting Miami at number one, then Alabama at number two, Oklahoma at three. I'm gonna leave Clemson at number four. I think Oklahoma is still better than Clemson right now. And Clemson versus Miami, that's going to be the ACC championship game, so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch too. So you might see a team like Georgia, if they were somehow to win out and then beat Alabama in that SEC championship game and Miami beats Clemson, you might see Georgia sneak back in. Do not sleep on Ohio State, okay? Do not be surprised if they somehow find their way back into the top four. It's not likely, but I'm just saying, look out for it, expect it, because there's a chance it might happen. So that's all I got to say about college football. Let's get into some news and notes around sports. Raider fans, cover your ears, because Monday night, this wasn't even covered or anything like that. I barely saw it. I can't remember who I saw tweet about it yesterday, but it just wasn't covered at all. The Raiders broke ground where their new stadium is going to be in Las Vegas. And like I said, Raider fans, close your ears. I'm not happy about the Raiders going to Vegas either. They belong in Oakland. Even they should have just moved them to LA too. If you're going to move the Raiders, move them to LA or that's the only place that they should have moved them. I don't understand Vegas. Raider fans, there's Oakland Raider fans and then there's Raider fans, okay? We're going to have Raider fans in Vegas, but the Oakland Raider fans are the ones those are the fans that you see at the games. Those are the ones that make it the best fan base in all of football. I'm going to say that right now. Yeah, the Oakland Raiders have the best fans in all of the NFL, probably in all sports. The Oakland Raiders best fans in all of sports. Even the Warriors another team from Oakland, you can debate that, but I think hands down with how the Raiders have been since they lost in the Super Bowl in 2002. Those fans never left their team. They were always there for them, showed up. I remember going to a couple of Raider Dolphins games, and I was a little kid. I used to talk a lot of smack, and I just asked Raider fans, why do you guys keep coming if you guys keep losing? And they just love their team. They don't care. They love the Oakland Raiders. So once the Raiders move to Vegas, you're going to see that fan base go down, because there's some fans out there that are fans of the Oakland Raiders and not the Raiders. So yeah, it's just really sad to see the Raiders leave. Really love their fans. They're, like I said, best fan base in all of sports. So it sucks to see them go, but it's just brutal to see from them. Move the Chargers to Las Vegas. I'm sorry, San Diego fans, but Chargers should have moved to Vegas or something like that. Raiders should have never left Oakland, and like I said, if they should have moved to LA. But that's all I got to say about that. Let's see, what else is there going on in sports? NBA, what do we got going on? Oh yeah, Rudy Gobert, he was injured in, I think, a couple of games ago by Dion Waiters, so he's going to be out for about 4 weeks. Lonzo Ball was benched in the fourth quarter in their win against Phoenix. They won that game 100-93, I believe it was, and Lonzo was minus 11 as far as plus minus goes for all you advanced stats guys out there. And then Kyrie Irving, the Celtics are playing the Nets tonight, which is Tuesday. Kyrie Irving's going to be back, it's looking like. At least that's Brad Stevens said. He's going to be out there with the protective mask, and I know social media has become a really big thing with the NBA, and it's pretty much the this is like peak NBA right now. These last couple of years and probably the years going forward, next few years going forward is peak NBA. And we're going to see masked Kyrie, and we all know he's a really popular type of player on Twitter. I really love Twitter in the NBA. It's such a perfect mix because now that's where you got Hoodie Mellow from, and boom, Jordan, that brand, they made those Hoodie Mellow sweatshirts. I'm sure they made a fortune off of those. So yeah, other than that, let's see, what game should we watch tonight as far as everything goes? Like I said, watch the Duke and Michigan State games. If you got a computer, stream the games. You got a TV, make sure you have every game on. Just try and find a screen, put the game on. You got Duke, Michigan, then you got Kentucky and Kansas. And then let's give some hockey some love. You got the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who are currently 10-5 and have a loss in overtime, 10-5-1. Boom, that's my hockey knowledge right there. Then you got the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid's always someone you want to watch. He's a fun guy to watch. Probably the best. Yeah, he's the best player in hockey right now, I feel. And then let's see what else do we got going on tonight. We got Raptors at Rockets, Spurs at Mavericks, and then like I said, you got the Celtics at Nets. Do we got anything else? That's pretty much it for what to watch tonight. Like I said, I really got my head stuck on the Raiders now leaving to Vegas. It's just something that should have never happened. But other than that, that's pretty much all for today's show. It's a pretty fun show. If you need a reminder for how the show went, first segment we talked NBA games from Monday. After that next segment we talked NFL games from Week 10. The third segment we talked Monday Night Football. Said some good things about the Panthers. Gave a nice little rant on the Dolphins. And for this last segment, if you just need another quick reminder, I talked a little about Duke and Michigan State, Kentucky versus Kansas. Those are going to be fun ones. Like I said, Raider fans, close your ears on this one again. Cover your ears. Yesterday, Monday night, the Raiders broke ground on their new Las Vegas site, and then we talked about what games to watch for Tuesday. So it's going to be a fun night as far as sports goes. Really excited for those college football games. I'll be tuning into those for sure. I'll be tuning into the Celtics game too to see how they play with Kyrie back in his mask. But other than that, that's going to be it for our show today. It was a fun show. Thanks for listening. Once again, this is the GSMC Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Tapia, and we'll be back Wednesday, so stay tuned.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.